Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world. I'm Sara Jane, and this is today's conversation with Enolia, Enolia and I do this together, and my tongue's getting tired.
Yes, we do.
And our very special guest, Jill Mattson, who's joined us. And Jill, brilliant, thank you. Hello, Enolia, and hello, Jill. Thank you for joining.
Hello.
Hello.
Right, our topic of conversation, which is one of the reasons we've invited Jill today, is exploring sound as a vibration. And Jill is an expert in sound, music, all the energies and bits and pieces that go with music. And I'm going to keep this simple so that everybody can understand it. If anybody wants to put anything more complicated into this in the way of sounds, please feel free to. I'm one of Like, keep it simple, and if you want to put the S on the end, you can, and anybody who knows what that means, that's great. So, welcome to you all. Welcome to our guests, our guest. And so, exploring sound as a vibration. And for me, everything is a vibration. Oh, bless you.
Bless you.
All right, Jill's that's a sound and that's a vibration, folks. Oh, dear. Are you all right?
Hachu does kind of rebalance your body after a sneeze. It serves a purpose.
I think you find every sound serves a purpose.
It does.
Whether it's to aggravate or to relax or to energize or whatever. So actually, I'm going to pass straight over to Jill because she is our sound vibration expert. And your thoughts, and we'll just take the conversation from there.
Okay, sound. I'm sorry, your voice started to warble. You want me to talk about sound and vibration?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All righty. We all know that everything's energy, right? You can look at the periodic chart of elements, and you can even look at its electron configuration. So you see that each thing in the periodic chart of elements, which is our whole world, has little electrons and they vibrate at certain speeds. It's energy. And music is simply counting the cycles per second. It's counting the speed of a wave. That's it. So you can see how music overlaps with everything. As the ancient Pythagoreans would tell you, music can entrain your brainwaves, can give you a certain thought. When you hear a lively beat, sometimes you unconsciously entrain to it. So you're tapping your foot. You don't even know. You know, the music is playing you, and you think you're in charge. If someone else is playing the note of A, let's say, and that's the same note as your heart, then that heart is receiving that beautiful vibration from that sound because it's energy. And energy exchanges with the same frequency. So an A here and an A here exchange frequency. And in that way, certain colors have a certain cycle per second, or let's say an unheard octave of music. They also vibrate with things in your body, your thoughts, your feelings. You go to a movie theater and turn off the sound, and it really, really is boring because it's the music that's playing you. And we think we're watching and in charge when music tends to be playing. So, in ancient times, sound was free, accurate, powerful energy source for healing your body, emotions, thoughts, connecting with guides, spirits. I mean, you name it. So how's that for a big overview?
Excellent, Enolia.
So I love working with sound. My first introduction to really understanding. So I'm one of those Pythagoreans, first of all. I was a math major. So I was just like, oh, we get to deep dive into Pythagoras' approach to it. But I'm going to actually come at it a different way. I first really started understanding how sound could impact the body when I was reading some of Dr. John Berlew's work with human tuning. And I love sharing this story for those people who don't know it. is that when Dr. John Berlew was doing his dissertation, one of the things that he wanted to do was he wanted to understand how the human body responded to sound. And so what he did is he used himself as a guinea pig, and he put himself in a soundproof chamber, and he wanted to see how the body would respond to total silence. And to his utterly, unbelievable, saying, I'm not getting silence here. I still hear sound. And what he discovered is that he was listening to the sound of his own body. His body was actually vibrating at a sound. And so being in that soundproof chamber was the first time he could actually hear the sounds that his body was actually making. So, to just complement what Jill is saying is the discovery of the fact that not only does our body produce sound, and like the heart is A, but each and individual organ functions at a certain vibration, which is phenomenal. Which is why when we hear something like tuning forks, our body responds, certain parts of our body. So if I play an A on the tuning fork, yes, the heart is going to respond. And the same thing goes for that lower bass, like the drum. You ever hear a drum and you can't not move. You have to move because the body is responding to the resonance and the frequency of those sounds. And I think that that's so wonderful. So,
What's really cool is throughout most antiquity, they talk about the sounds of silence. And they talk about a sound of many waters, of bagpipes, of hearing ocean waves. And they have a list of about 25 things. This would be in the ancient Hindu tradition, Chinese, Egyptians, all over the earth. And in my early part of my spiritual journey, I would tune into listening into the body. And you just really need to focus on what's inside. And your body will start to come out like the vacuum cleaner sound to me is my circulation. My nerves are like a high-pitched metal tone. But once you pass that, then your body, as you go through stages of evolution, has different nature sounds. And, there's a big long list, and I suppose when you go through them all, maybe you said, I'm not there. But at any rate, you do go through this sound. But I would also say that in about 10, 15 years, I still hear them. Like I hear crickets chirp, frogs, all kinds of things inside. But I've started getting, I believe they're downloads. They're metallic sounds. And I think that light workers are getting them, and it's often confused with tinnitus. But with tinnitus, you can't turn the volume. So these little, I call them downloads, come in, and they're high-pitched. And when I focus on them, they get louder. And when I'm busy, they diminish out. And in essence, it's my understanding that the earth really needs to lift up. And that if you look at music and sound, you'll see let's say you have a low note, C, you go up an octave, C, and let's say there's 4 cycles per second difference. Well, if you go up from, let's say, a C that's 1,000 cycles per second to 2,000, which is an octave, just doubling, the difference now is 1,000 units, whereas before it was 4 units. So I believe that those people who are on the path of meditation, healing the earth, blessing, healing themselves, they're getting more. They're getting more because when they improve, it's exponentially helping the earth. It's not so as to not give to the person who isn't as evolved because they're just as important. But it's a critical time for us as a whole. And we who as light workers, the more we meditate, the more we, pray and enter into positive emotions, the more we kind of enter into the collective frequency, love, raising. And I believe we're getting help. And I believe it's in downloads. And I believe you can hear it, just like you were talking about.
Oh, and it is. And it's, I am very definitely about keeping it simple. And I'm loving listening to what you're saying. But it's just like when we have an illness, an ailment, stress and strain, it's our vibration out of sync. And the energy of the right sound can literally pull it back into sync.
Mhm.
And so using sound, and the sound I use is toning, is the voice. And that I've had bones move under my hands. I have people say that there have been blockages in systems and they felt them move. Muscles said, oh yes, I've been given permission to relax. So they relax. This is just how powerful simplistically within a person's body. And as you said, downloads. Absolutely. Most of the time, I'm not aware of sound in my ears. But then there are times when I absolutely get them. And that's exactly what I'm thinking. Okay, it's being downloaded. And that's exactly how I feel about it. But then having come into finding that I speak what I refer to as soul language, many people talk as light language. It's also down to the tone of our voice, the energy, the vibration of the voice that people use. How many of us remember as a child being told, don't talk to me like that? You weren't aware of there being anything wrong with the tone of your voice. So do either of you remember having something said and thinking, but why have you taken like that? That's not what I meant. This goes on within life. There's so much around us and within us that we don't necessarily get to understand until we're a lot older.
Mm.
You know, with toning, one thing that's interesting is that I think enlightenment and health is having every frequency in your body. So let's say you do a little toning, like a ooh, you're hitting every cycle per second, whereas our musical scale might hit 12 out of, let's say, 1,000 in some octaves. So as you go up and you make that sound, it's like you give your body that energy. And your body is so much more intelligent and conscious, I think, than let's say than I am. So my body knows what notes it's needed, what notes are down, and things combine. Like think of digestion, it's a chemical formula, it's a sound formula, it's melody. And when it gets out of tune, your body knows, oh, I need a little, F sharp plus plus. And so when you get close to that sound, or a food that has that sound in its cycle per second, or a piece of music that's in that key, your body releases endorphins and you listen more or you eat more. And even in junk food, when the people try to get you to keep eating, it's like they give you a frequency and then clog it up so that your body thinks it's getting something like vitamin C, but then when you eat it, it doesn't work. So you keep going for more vitamin C. And if put the food aside, when you're listening to sound and you, ooh, you'll find that you feel different on some of those tones. And our beloved, intelligent, conscious body that knows more about us than we know about our body lets us know what's the tone, what's the sound that we need for healing. And I think, in a way, the guy who told us that sound is mere entertainment, you girls are going to love this. He's got to have little ears and a ponytail because nothing could be more further than the truth, and nothing could harm us more than thinking sound's entertainment. Sound is nutrition. Sound enlivens. Sound heals. Sound gives us vitality.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you, Jill, and it's through an experience. So we know that everything is energy, and the earth, I look at the earth, Pachamama, that's what I love to call her, right? Is energy. And I know that she must vibrate at a certain sound because we have this collective piece of all these different aspects, nature, trees, just all of the water, all of these different things. And, I would, now that we're talking about this, an experience that I had of walking one time and feeling like I heard this vibration and there was nothing there. I was in nature, there was nothing there. It wasn't a foghorn, but it was the sound, and I swear it came from Mother Earth. It was just like this. It was like a huge coming from Mother Earth. I know that we are like batteries when we lay on Mother Earth, and that she takes our woes, she takes our depressions and everything else. Can you talk a little bit about how sound and Mother Earth kind of come together? Because two things. One is that I believe she makes noise. I believe she speaks and she makes a sound. And then how does she get us back in balance? Because whenever I've been sad or depressed or anything, and I go and I lay in the grass, you cannot not be back in alignment. There's just something that takes place when you lay on Mother Earth that, is she playing my tune?
Of course.
I don't
But
know.
nonetheless, I would say that I've spoken with Mother Earth. So not only does she make noise, but she's conscious. She has spoken to me and I've heard her, and she's spoken to me and I've felt her. And
Mm,
interestingly, for everybody who wants to do this, I started a routine where every 15 minutes a day I would just do healing on the earth. I'd start with, and I imagined her in all the surface, and then I went into all her kingdoms. And she spoke to me and said, "Go all the way to the center, not just my skin." So she was very appreciative, and she was exhausted, so she needs us. But how she speaks to us, two things. One is, I think that her music instrument are the elements. So if you look at the American Native Indians, um, they're healing with the elements. The Chinese, healing with the elements. The
that's
Hindu,
right.
healing with the elements.
That's
And
right.
although we think of an element as a bunch of sounds, like the sounds of water, could be many pitches, it still has a certain characteristic sound or harmonic. You might think of fire as similar, but I believe that um, when you look at all the healing modalities, like ancient pantheons and all their gods, it's an octave of music. If they'll sometimes compare all their gods to numbers, 1 to 9. Then the music will compare to 1 to 9. The colors will come in there with 1 to 8. So they take a whole subset and they divide it into components. That's what the tree of life is. That's what
Mm,
the Sephiroth is in the Egyptians. And to me, nature, when you break her down into components, when you take the whole of this octave, which is just Mother Earth, and you get into her components, they literally are pitches. And if you look at the way the energies diminish and augment each other, why, that's just like music does. And
mhm.
if you start looking at the mathematics of music, there's reciprocals. So, like an F sharp, like think of a seesaw, an F sharp here, a green and red, the notes corresponding to them. If you have too much green, you don't have enough red. And you have to get into that middle ground,
Right.
because we have this duality. So we have this negativity, and she breathes that and breathes out the other. It's like a tree. A tree breathes in carbon dioxide. We breathe in oxygen. So we have this kind of like circle. So we lay on the earth, and she takes our energy, but that's what she needs, and she uses that to balance because it's energy, and
Mm,
she loves us and she cleans it for us. But underneath the layer of emotion or the positive and negative charge, it's energy. And I don't know, I guess I just think we share that way. And that, to me, the elements, which are all voices of Mother Nature, um, they sing together and create a song. I mean, literally, mathematically, in my opinion.
There is something I've heard. It was some time ago, and there was a video, and it was literally the sounds in a cave, and they said, it was as if Mother Earth was speaking, was sharing, the sound was coming. And I get the feeling there's more than one of those, and so there is a video out there that is, and absolutely, okay. She needs to breathe. Mother Earth needs to breathe. The movement of the tectonic plates, the volcanic eruptions. She needs to stretch. It's all part and parcel of that vibration, that energy of a living earth.
You know what else is interesting is the Schumann frequency. And that there's an ionosphere, what, about 10 miles up? So there's some type of atmosphere that keeps our air kind of close to the surface of the earth. And thunder goes off and it ricochets all around the earth and it creates about a G. So you'll find that, like the Hindus, they'll dress in a color that correlates to the earth tone. The Dalai Lama, so a lot of people feel that because of the Schumann resonance, that the Earth's frequency is a G, maybe, but it's interesting. When astronauts go into space, they will play the Schumann resonance for the astronauts because they get sick without it. And it's another reason why you feel better in nature versus, let's say, a cement building, which would not allow the Schumann resonance in. And also interesting is in these transformative times, the Schumann resonance has been very stable for a very long time and it's starting to spike. So maybe there is some improvement in our hearts on Earth.
Yes. Yes. Well, I also want to go back to something else that Sara Jane said too, which she mentioned the language of light, because there are many of us who speak that. And I would love for you to expound a little bit on the resonance and just the knowledge of that, because what I'm finding is that many people speak and they don't understand the bases, they don't understand, how it's coming about. They just know that it's coming through.
I just think I don't understand it. I have no idea. I just open my mouth and it comes out. And I don't even have to sit and think about it. I could, for want of a better word, I could spout it right now. It can be that instantaneous. But what is so lovely that Jill and I have been working with a gentleman called Jos, and he took one of my spoken ones and a sung one, and he put them to music. And it was just like, hang on, I'm not a singer. But he made that sound absolutely amazing. But the energy of that, and the people that have heard it, my own family, my sisters and my mother, it's just been, Sarah, that is beautiful. They don't understand it. But I think joy for me in the not mentally, mind, ego understanding it is that the heart and the soul do. And that energy, vibration, that resonance is not misinterpreted, can't be distorted in any way, shape, or form, because it is understood, as you were talking about, Jill, is that about the intelligence of our own body, our higher self, soul, source, whatever terminology you want to put around it, it is that understanding at a way deeper level. It's like the downloads you were talking about. I think it's all part and parcel of being able to bring downloads to people. Had one person say, have no idea what you've just said, but I know that it's been filed away for when I need it.
Yes.
The vibration of that.
And also, people think of sacred sounds or even words is maybe esoteric, but I know a lot of people that love to go to Mass in Latin. And they don't understand the word, but they feel more holy hearing it in Latin. And it's the same with the Sufis and many of the other religions. Their high religious ceremonies are in a language in which they have no idea what's being said. And that underscores the point that it's not the meaning. The meaning of the word is, it's there, but it's trivial. It's the sound. And we like to think we're more conscious than we are. When you look at some of the ancient texts, which were all originally sung, when you look at the ancient texts, you see all these codes in them and mathematical patterns. I've done that with my own music. I think my little ego gets out of control and thinks, oh, look at this cute little song I came up with. And I'm just humming. Then I look at the math and I'm like spellbound. It's like, hey, who did this? and, and so there was something greater than me. It's like it's greater than me, and my consciousness is smaller. And so I think when we're doing some of these sacred sounds, it's the energy, and it used to be science. It used to be cymatics. Like for example, in the Chinese, but they would tune their gongs, and they would put sand on it, and they would chant Om or some other sacred sound, and then that would create, let's say, the symbol for Om. So that gong might be redone and redone until it formed a perfect Om or a perfect holy sound. And if you look at the Egyptian, um, um, their letters, they're all cymatics. If you go to
Mm.
the Boston Chapel, there's literally music carved in figures in the tiles, and you can buy the CD of a father-son. I think it's Stuart and Thomas Mitchell. But at any rate, another way of trying to say this is, let's imagine that we're fairies. Okay, we're in the fourth dimension, just play experience. And we're very, very, very high. So we're all telepathic. Now, telepathic communication gives you the depth, the feeling, whether there's a lie or dishonesty, you get it all.
Hmm.
Whether it's a passing thought, or you get tons of information. The word gives you just like a little band-aid of information. So if we are in a higher dimension, there's no reason to speak because it's inferior and it's simply unnecessary. So sound became a tool to germinate crops, to make people strong, to defend themselves, to make horses run faster, to make your milk sweeter, all kinds of things that we wouldn't think of. And it took a while before, as we're descending in this thought experience into the physical body, as we're getting into more and more density, to where then sound, we lose the ability of telepathy, and now we're left with sound. So the origins of the languages of light, which is what people are channeling with the soul language, dear Sarah, and that this was initially cymatics. And so you look at your early languages of light, Sanskrit, Egyptian, ancient Chinese, Latin, and so forth, they're not symbolic languages, whereas English has mainly, well, largely, symbolism in it. And I believe that as we started incarnating into greater density and further away from God, so that I guess we can enjoy the ride home. But at any rate, as we're on this journey, we lost all the languages of light. We lost the more powerful soul language because we were afraid we were going to use it to hurt ourselves. Whoever said sticks and stones break my bones, but liar, liar. Because things will hurt you. And so I believe that our languages got dumbed down so to protect ourselves. But what Sarah is doing is she's going back to the much more strong and powerful creative force that at one time was used consciously to uplift and bless on a myriad of ways. So lovely.
And I love it. And I wasn't saying that in the respect of just like well, in, I was saying it because it comes through me too, and I've always have felt like language of light is a remembering. And I've always felt like it was a remembering of not just my single dimension, like I came from one other dimension, but my multi-dimensional being of multiple dimensions. And whatever frequency I needed to communicate on, I do. And I do use the healing practice in my healing practice. And there are times when I'm working with someone and just basically they need a tone. They need a tone. Here's
Exactly.
the sound that they need, not that they need to do, but just here's the sound that they need, and it's like I'm going to blow it into yours, or I'm going to speak to you so that the frequency can come through. And I just, and I think I mentioned this because there's so many people who do remember, but they don't want to say it out loud. They don't say anything out loud. And that is a natural part of our multidimensional being. We are so capable as human beings with such grand gifts that we don't tap into because we're so worried about perceptions and how people will perceive us or judge us. And I'm glad we had this discussion, because for those people who are out there that do have that gift, should know that is something so special that should always, always, always be brought forward. So
And a good way to develop it is just start to allow yourself to say blah, 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 blah.
exactly.
Or start to sing in the shower. I
Yes.
started it when I had an hour commute. So, I felt like I could get away with for that hour until one of my employees caught me. She said, "Was that you talking to yourself in the car?"
I have a similar story where I was practicing in the house and my son walks in and he looks at me and he goes, "What the heck were you?" Like, hey, until he saw me do a meditation, and that people came for the specific meditation of hearing that frequency and that tone. And then there was a great respect. So, yes.
I think there are so many of us that are opening to, are aware of, are using and bringing forth the energy. And for whatever reason, this conversation, if it helps other people to say, okay, there's more out there. I'm not on my own. I can show somebody this video. I'm not mad.
That's right. That's right. And I also want to comment also and just bring forward the fact that our sound can sometimes open vortexes and open portals. And it is so important to know that when you are singing that song, that sacred song, and with the intention and the holding of space and everything, that you're doing much more than singing a song, and that all of the things that we feel moved to do is coming from so much of a deeper place than this third dimensional space that we're like, oh, I'm just singing a song. No, I'm not. I'm opening up a portal. I'm holding sacred space. I am really, really holding this frequency so that whatever can take place.
It was really cool one time. I don't know if you guys have heard the singing plants of Damaher in Spain, where it's like a lie detector, and they hook up sensitive equipment to the leaves and perhaps to the roots of plants, and lo and behold, they sing. And they have these videos in which they hook up these lie detectors, and then it's fed into a synthesizer or an electric piano. And it's really fabulous, because I remember this one video where they showed this beautiful flower plant just sitting there kind of going like, and then someone came over and said how beautiful it was. And it went, whoo! That's good. But one time, and only once, and the video was taken down, there was a lady in Mexico who took a cactus and hooked it up to a sound generator, not a synthesizer. So what's the difference? A synthesizer uses our music system, which is so much a GMO. Nature does not use our scale, close, but not really. She uses Fibonacci and she has phi, and if you were to graph her music, it's a spiral. Our synthesizers, our music, if you graph our music, it's a circle. It doesn't give you that upward lift. And so when this woman, I think she's from Mexico, had hooked a sound generator that has every tone up to the cactus, it sounded strange at first. It was like, and as I listened to it, I felt like I transported into another dimension, because it had the complete accurate pattern of the cactus, not transferred or seen through the eyes of our GMO sonic musical scale. And while I was listening to that song, my dear, I felt I was in the world of that cactus. I had such love for that. It was it's like I left my talk about a porthole, and talk about sound. But so even be free to come up with sounds that may not be familiar to you. I don't know. I wish I could find that video again or set that up myself because
Oh my gosh, but you're right, because I saw that synthesizer. My dear friend Kim, that I know in Michigan, showed that to me, hooking it up to one of her plants. So I sort of like the little, you
mhm,
know,
yeah,
it's cheesy version of, not cheesy, but the
yeah,
small version of it.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. But that's only taken 12 notes out of thousands, and it translates it. It translates it into our plastic world.
Wow.
And when I heard the real deal, I felt like it was a porthole sound. So I'm just agreeing with you.
So in that respect, then, if we were to be hooked up, if anything was to
Yeah,
be hooked up,
Ah.
yeah,
because our vibration is different to create who we are, to create every blade of grass, every flower, every tree, every bush, every river, every stream, every beach, every ocean, every sea, every everything, every animal, every creature, every insect on this planet. We have our own unique vibration that makes us the physical being that we are. So we have our own unique sound.
it's interesting. The Hindus say they take the elements of nature and they like weight them. You know, like you can feel and you can hear fire. So they talk about like as you evolve into matter, which ones were formed first. So perhaps air was formed first. Earth was formed a little bit later. Anyway, so they weight all of their elements, but the highest one is ether, and
Mm.
ether is associated with the sounds of a healthy body and a loving soul, and it represents all the sounds. So it's almost as if when you hook in your imagination, I'm hooking up those little lie detectors, sensor detectors, to, let's say, a person, let's say you, dear Sarah, and and when it comes off as a beautiful holistic piece, um, there's there's a measure of your evolvement.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Because it does make sound, and so do we make sound. It's not in our hearing range, but doesn't mean that it's not there. And all that little equipment does is it simply hooks it up to a sound generator or a synthesizer piano and makes it audible. So
I can imagine that being so grand, because really we have a galaxy within us.
mhm.
So I want to open our audience's mind, if they're thinking, oh, that would be interesting, it would just be our being. No, we are energy, and energy is limitless, and we bring in, we exude out. So to imagine, your individual song truly being played would be something quite phenomenal.
Yeah, well, think of the word universe, universe.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, don't even start me on my thoughts on that one. that because that would just blow everything out the water. Well, no, it would blow it out the water, but it would just no. That's maybe for another time. But it's just us opening up to the fact that we are vibration, that we are affected by all the vibrations around us, the good or the bad. And a lot of those vibrations are audible sounds.
Mm.
And okay, music is one that, but the traffic that goes past, that is a sound. Plane flying overhead, the wind in the trees. If you're walking by a river, the sound. There are so many sounds, and the vibration of those sounds, because that's, for me, it's not the sound per se. When I say to people, it's not about what you hear, it is about what you feel from that sound. And to me, it really is about the feeling of the vibration of that sound. And you can feel it even when you can't hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes things can be going on, you think, why is there a strange energy? Why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? And that's potential that there's a vibration somewhere that you can't hear, but you are feeling that vibration. Recently, it's going into supermarkets and feeling a real agitation. And suddenly it just dawned on me, actually, what energies is everybody else putting out? What energies am I feeling that are creating this agitation within me? And so I've literally just started taking, okay, fine, I'm going into the supermarket. I am just going to hold that energy of love. I'm just going to expand that energy of love around me and into and for everyone around me as a protection from the negative energies that I feel for some reason I am taking on. So we can take on energies without realizing that they're even there.
Yeah, just a thought. Think of like entrainment. So you have a clock shop, and you have a loud grandfather clock, volume wise, goes tick tock. You have a bunch of little guys, and they're going tick 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 tick. In about 5 minutes, they will all copy the louder. And that's the way it is when you go in that grocery store. If you go in and you come back cranky, it's because you weren't letting your light shine. You weren't in your love. You weren't in your center.
Yeah.
And then everybody else's kind of bad day is nothing but energy. And it is louder than your love. So when people are sensitive, and I think they're becoming more and more sensitive, you have to have a sense of objectivity and observation, and so that you understand what's going on, but you don't get a straw out and suck it up, because once you do, then you can't help that person. So even though you can't hear these sounds, we all feel them, and when they don't feel right, it's time for us to center and ground and come up with a stronger vibe, and we will overcome.
Yes, we will.
Yeah, isn't there a song, "We Will Overcome" or something? So, has anybody got anything they'd like to sort of add before we draw this to a close? Because I'm enjoying this conversation, but we have to bring it to an end.
It's just been so delightful.
I have some free music to overcome the coronavirus. It builds your immune system. It's at coronavirusdefense.org. It's 60 minutes, and it strengthens the nutrients that protect against the virus. So, heal.
Jill, let me have. I know I have listened to that on numerous occasions, because it was especially when we first went into lockdown, because you were sharing it. Let me have the link to that again, and I will make sure that it's put under this video so that people can find it. I did notice the other day that you were sharing it again. So
for other viruses too. It's not exclusive to the corona. So
yeah, well, it's about immunity, isn't it?
It
is. Yeah. So yeah, that's the important thing. So I will happily share that underneath this. So please do. And thank you so much for joining us. Enolia, any final thoughts?
I actually have a meditation CD for Language of Light. So if anyone's interested in exploring the language of light and the tone and inclination that it brings, I'd love to share that out with everyone also. So yes.
So then let me have a link to that I can put under the video when it goes up onto YouTube, which won't be immediately, but by the time people are obviously watching this on YouTube, it'll be up there.
But I just wanted to share also what a wonderful time it was to speak with you, Jill. I've learned so much, and just honoring your knowledge and your wisdom And I just enjoying this immensely and hoping you'll do it again. Do it again. I was like, I want to know more. Let's talk more.
Thank you, sweet souls. Your sweet music blesses those around you. So thank you for being you.
It's been a real pleasure, and we haven't had perfect sound for this, which maybe because of the amount of vibration the three of us are bringing. So I hope people have been able to hear and understand what we've been saying on this. And thank you. And next week, Enolia is joining me for an actual interview. So we're going to, and if anybody wants to actually listen to more about from Jill, Jill's joined us on Gift of Healing TV before. So we've got sort of some videos from Jill as well. So please do join us. And on the website at the moment, while we're live, there's also a link to information about Jill and Enolia and their website. So go and check that out, giftofhealingtv.com, and it's on the About Us page. So you can learn more about our beautiful guests here today. Well, guests here, presenters here today. So next week, Enolia is joining me on Gift of Healing TV. And Enolia, our next today's conversation program.
Yes, on our next today's conversation, we're going to be joined by engineer and spiritual intuitive Dr. Linda Tello. And the topic of the conversation is going to be what does working with the spiral mean? And the way that the spiral appears and its representation in the medicine wheel. So that should be really a phenomenal talk, because Dr. Tello has basically worked and does engineering projects leveraging the medicine wheel, and just brought a whole new different viewpoint of engineering based on the medicine wheel. So that should be an exciting speak.
And I think that's brilliant, because Jill mentioned the spiral earlier. So
yes,
as per usual, we have got a link from one program to the next. Jill, thank you so much for joining us. Enolia, brilliant. And I'll
thank you.
both again soon. Thank you, folks. Take care. Be safe. Stay well. Namaste to you all.
Aho.